Everyone, welcome back to Rob's MetalWorks. We are here at the home studio this evening to bring you one of the voices, one of the Texas metal legends I have with me, the mighty Bruce CORBITT, here tonight of Rigor Mortis and Warbeast. Sir, welcome to the program. I'm glad to have you here.
Appreciate it, brother. It's always good to see you, Rob. You know how much I love you, man.
Thank you so much, Bruce. It's, we've already had a great chat, even before the camera was rolling. So thank you already for so much that you've shared this evening. But all the people out there, right now I think is an exciting time for several reasons. And for people who watch our show, I think one of the things that I kind of want to jump back a little bit and talk about, and it's still fresh and glorious, is the fact that Rigor Mortis released a second CD, Slaves to the Grave, back in October last year. And, for many people, were pleasantly surprised, because if you weren't in the inner circles, you never knew that Rigor Mortis was going to release, ever thought that Rigor Mortis was going to release a new CD. So that's my first question to you. Because of your long history of the band, in and out sometimes, did you ever think Rigor Mortis was going to release another official release?
Oh, absolutely not after a certain point, after 15, 20 years went by. But I know we've been wanting to talk about this album for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, I was telling you in advance, I was like, dude, you're going to freak on this one. And I remember. And then as soon as you heard it, you were like, yeah, I can't wait to talk to you about this album. So it's finally here, and we're going to talk about it because no way, man. I mean, me and them guys went through a lot, and there was periods, and then it was just we talked about it for years and years about doing it. And then, after a while, you're just like, it's just never going to happen. But Mike Scotch had finally buckled down and wrote everything so fast that,
Wow.
I mean, it was crazy because, like I said, for 7 years go by, and I'm reading interviews from 2005, hey, we're about to make a new album. And then it's it gets to be up 2011. And I'm like, then out of nowhere in 3 months, Mike's got a whole album almost of material ready to go. So.
And I think that's an important question, take into consideration the untimely passing of Mike Scotch. Okay, so I think one of the things that I always kind of pondered was, was the record done prior to Scotch's passing, or were some of these guitar recordings done, years ago, or talk a little bit about that.
The year before Mike passed away, we did a demo with 2 of the songs, so we did have 2 of the songs ready. And then the rest of the material, like I said, he wrote it in a little span there, in late 2011. And we went into the studio, and it was February 2012, so we had finished this album. Mm-hmm. And, he ended up passing away in December 2012, so it was that little gap of a period, though. And a lot of people thought, I've seen online, and like you just asked, if we had finished it. And yes, all his guitar parts were done. We were planning on shopping it to labels, and we had big plans. I mean, with the band, we were excited about this new album. We were talking about can't wait to do another album, and we were really wanting to get out there and tour on this album once it was released. So the sad thing is, as soon as we finished recording it, Mike and Casey had to leave to go rehearse with Ministry and prepare for that summer tour coming up. I had an album with Warbeast that we were gonna do 3 months later, which was Destroy. Mm-hmm. So we had to put the mixing off for a while, and that's what happened. Was when Mike came back from the tour and everything, he'd gotten with our engineer Kerry Crafton, and they just started mixing it. That was one good thing, is Mike got in there for a few days and worked with Kerry, and so unfortunately, he passed away, but we knew from what Mike had started, we kind of had an idea of what he wanted this album to sound like,
And it is a stellar sounding CD. I mean, we all pull out our old Rigor Mortis demos, and we hear and we love the music, but of course the production on those works lacked. It was horrible. So now to kind of hear the Rigor Mortis thrashy vibe, and then of course Mike's solo work on such a high production level, it kind of was like a burst of sunlight for the band, that now we all get to really enjoy Rigor Mortis the way it was kind of really meant to be.
And I got to agree with you. so many people talk about the first album and the other albums and love it and everything, but we always thought the production wasn't what it should have been, or it didn't sound like us. I mean, as much as people have grown to like the first album or whatever, I think it's just because there was so many great songs on it, but really that wasn't what we sounded like when we were jamming live.
Right.
So that's what was very important to us this time, was to get it right. And we took a long time. I mean, after Mike was gone, we spent a lot of time with Kerry on the mix, and we were determined to do him justice, you know. I mean, we put everything, our love and hearts, you know, every ounce of sweat and blood, tears, everything into this album just to make it sound the way it should be.
And I think when I actually truly absorbed this record, I became even more of a Rigor Mortis fan and even more of a Mike Scotia fan, because to me this CD is Slaves to the Grave, and for some of you people out there who don't have it, go ahead and take a quick look at it. It's out right now. You can go out online and buy it and get it in your hands. Really kind of showcases the true talent that Scotia was. I mean, and you know, we think about, everybody talks about Scotia and his fast picking, but there was a lot of also harmony guitars that he was doing on this record that I didn't even know he had in him, that he could do that stuff. And it shows the prowess of not only the technicality of who he was, but also a lot of the passion and feeling that he had as a guitarist. I mean, and you as a longtime bandmate, you knew that stuff was there. A lot of us regular people, we didn't, you know?
Yeah, that's true. We did know. And that's why, you know, we were blessed to know this man and be his friend and his bandmate. And we got to watch him do this stuff, you know, when it was just the four of us in that jam room and Mike would, you know, do this stuff, we would be like, oh my God. You know, he really just was such a talent. I mean, that's all I can say. It's just blessed to have this talent inside him. And I always said from the day I met him, this man was put on this earth to play the guitar.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we were thrilled that he was doing this on the album, and we wondered what people would think, because there's always going to be those people out there that want it just to be full speed ahead and everything, right, just like Shroud of Gloom, just, you know, 90 miles an hour the whole way. But I knew it was magic, you know. I knew this was his magnum opus, you know. I was sitting there like a fan watching him record these solos, you know, and so I'm just thankful, because at this point in Rigor Mortis, even after all we had been through, the best part of it at all is we were getting along better than we ever have. I mean, and we knew it was a special moment that the four of us were back together again, and we savored it and enjoyed it. And I mean, I still cherish it, you know, to having that 10 days back in February 2012 with Mike Scotia, Casey Orr, and Hardin Harrison, man. So, yeah.
So, I mean, I want to talk about a couple of other things post-release of the CD, but before we get off Mike Scotia specifically, you know, he passed away, and unfortunately at your birthday celebration. Did you or anyone in the band kind of feel that, you know, that he was having any health issues, or did you kind of see anything personally behind the scenes that kind of made you feel maybe something was a little off with him? That you thought maybe, you know, I'm afraid for my friend that, you know, something might happen to him?
Well, in hindsight, I look back on some conversations I'd had with Mike, because in the last couple of years there, he would just call me and we'd want to just talk about our, you know, our lives and our family, and he had lost his mom, you know. Yep. And we talked about our health issues, I remember, and, you know, there was this one haunting thing he said to me one time, that he said that, you know, one time he went and the doctors had told him he's probably not going to live another 5 years. But he said it in a way that I didn't take it like that at the time. I just thought that. And then I think back to that last few days and that last practice we had, like the couple nights before, and we were just worn out and kind of tired. It was getting close to Christmas. He had been recording the new Ministry album. Mm-hmm. And I just remember him kind of saying, man, I'll just be glad, you know, when this show's over, so I can just get home and rest and hang out with my family. And then the night of the show, there was a couple of things that stand out to me now. And one thing, Mike, you know, he wasn't he was always ready to have a good time, especially on someone like a birthday. So I remember he was like, I was ready to do some shots before we started the show. And Mike was just like, oh, no, you know, he kept kind of putting it off. And then I remember he just kind of was like, man, I don't know. And then he kept putting it off. And that ain't the Mike Scotcha I knew, you know what I mean? Like, so then it got to be like 4 or 5 songs into the set. And I went over again. I was like, well, you ready to do it? And he just kept looking down like, man, you're going to make me pass out, man. You know, no, I can't. So, I mean, I see now that those last few days, Mike probably wasn't feeling very good, you know. So the little haunting thing he said, and then seeing some signs there at the end. But Mike was the kind that he would just never really let you know, you know. I mean, he didn't want anyone to know. He probably, you know, didn't want to play that show that night, but he was going to make sure that he came through for my birthday, you know. And so I watched him, man. I got footage of that night, and it's you know, it's creepy to watch in the beginning, you know, but now I watch it in amazement because, you know, before he passed away, he was up there playing better than just about I've ever seen him in my life. So to be doing that and feeling the way he did, and then what, you know, the shock that, you know, the trauma event that happened afterwards. I mean, like everybody said, he went out doing what he loved to do, you know. Yeah. So
sweet. So, you know, he passed away. The release finally came out. You guys released it on your own label, Rigor Mortis Records. What effect did his passing kind of have in some of the industry support that maybe you would have liked to seen for the record? I mean, obviously, you guys weren't going to be able to tour now in support of it because he's gone. How did some of that play out for you?
That's kind of, you know, that is exactly what happened is the labels all praised the album. But, I mean, the fact was we had announced, you know, we're not going to be Rigor Mortis. I mean, you cannot be Rigor Mortis without Mike Scotcha, you know? And so we had this great album, but we couldn't tour, and they knew we weren't going to make any more albums. A couple of them offered, like, distribution. I give them credit for that. But it's just, you know, the industry's so different these days anyway. So it just became the smartest thing for us to do was to put it out ourselves. And, you know, luckily, as you know, with the fan support, that they made it happen for us, you know. I mean, overwhelming support to reach our goal and then some. So you know, it's their album as much as ours, and it's all for Mike, you know. It really was. I mean, that's the way we went into it. At first, I thought, you know, this is like a great thing with it being the first album with me in like 20-something years and stuff, but it really ended up just being, it's all about, like you said, Mike Scotcha, man, you know. It is. I mean, how can it not be when you hear that album? I mean, come on.
Well, you're going to be around till you're 90, so we're good.
Exactly. Just like my dad, yeah.
So I have to ask, did everything that you recorded, was it released, or is there anything not released that maybe you're still holding on to?
Well, there is some, yeah, on this session everything got released, but there is some old stuff.
Oh, okay.
Like back before I got fired. Back when them guys fired me, we had done a demo for Freaks.
Okay.
You know, one night with Carrie Crafton, and so there's songs with me singing Freaks and Cattle Mutilations and all that stuff from the...
And that stuff's never been released?
No.
Sweet.
So, and it had, you know, there's some songs on there that wasn't on any albums too. There's a couple, I think. And then there was a version of Bloodbath that's different than the Bloodbath on this new album.
Wow.
But the main riff from the old Bloodbath carried over into it. So it's kind of getting complicated. But you know what I'm saying.
Will that stuff ever be released, you think?
We're talking about it now. I mean, next year is going to be the 25th anniversary of the first demo, with the 86 demo, the 8-track demo. But, so, you know, I'd like to see that get released, and we are talking about doing something with the Freaks demo as well.
Sweet, man. Yeah. All right. Well, we look forward to that. Let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about what you're here in San Antonio for. You're here tonight to play a show with Warbeast, your band with the mighty Shell Beast. Scott Shelby, where are you? Hopefully we'll see you later tonight, man. You know, it's been a little while, 2013, since Destroy came out, your last CD. So I think, and that was a stellar piece of work. Loved the brutality of that CD. Definitely sounded good. Great songs. Caught many of your shows in support of that CD. Now it kind of seems like Warbeast is kind of cranking up the war machine and getting back out there and playing some shows, and you know, there's been some changes. I know you have a couple of new members. Can you share with the fans who those people are?
Yeah, of course, and you're right. We lost a couple members back in you know, I guess Casey left around October last year, and then we had lost Bobby Tillotson, the guitarist, a few months before that. But we have reloaded, as I like to say, and we got a couple of really young guys coming in the band, which I'm like, hey, you can't beat that, right? Somebody to, you know, yeah, that's hungry young guys. Yeah. But one of them is, his name is Drew Shoup, and he's a 20-year-old guitarist, and he actually originally was born in Texas and lived in DFW until he was like, I think about 10, and he moved to Colorado. And he's actually been a fan of ours over the last few years, a pretty big fan and supporter, and we've seen him travel and come to our shows. And so we're really excited. The guy wanted this job so bad in Warbeast that he made the move from Colorado to Dallas-Fort Worth and had learned a lot of the material before he got there. And he wasn't wanting to be paid big bucks just to make the move, you know, because we explained the situation. Yeah. And then... yeah, he's coming through, as you'll see, man. I love Drew. He's doing a great job. And then on bass is my stepson. Really? Yeah, he's my stepson, man. He's really talented. His name's Lyric Farshad. Okay. He just turned 18 like a couple weeks ago, man. And he is the best bass player we've ever had. You heard me, Casey Orr.
Hey, he doesn't mind, you know, doing all the legwork and all the things that you got to do to keep a band alive, and that's great, man. That you have young blood in the band. I think that's important, you know.
Well, all kidding aside, the fact is you know, you run into the problems when you're a band that wants to tour a lot and everything. Is not everybody can do that as easily as we did back when we were in our 20s. So we've lost several members, as you know. Yeah, we want to be a busy band. We want to tour, get out on the road. We want to go make albums, and some guys just can't get away from their jobs or afford to do that. Sure. Now we got guys that were like how we were back then, where we didn't care. We was like, let's go, you know what I mean? So that's part of the reason. Not only that, the talent, and they're hungry, and they're doing the job. And like I said, I mean, you can't beat that. Just like we started with the young drummer, you know, when Joey came in, he was 17. And now it's crazy to think that there's, we were talking about that first Rigor Mortis album. Well, Joey's like 23, I think, and we got a 20-year-old and 18-year-old. They weren't even born when that album. They weren't even born, but they're keeping me on stage right now, so I'm happy.
Good. Well, I'm glad that Warbeast is continuing to work hard, and of course we can't not talk about the Show Beast, and hopefully, you know, I know he's a strong guy both physically and mentally, so I know he's also keeping the band going. So is the band writing any new music right now? When do you anticipate a new release for Warbeast?
Yes, and man, we're so close to playing a new one tonight, but it's just, I need to add some vocals and some solos, but we got some, like 3 songs pretty close to being finished, and we're going to try to go in sometime in August and get a few more down in time. And so, yes, we are going to go in and record some new Warbeast, and it's going to be great, and that gives us a goal. We're the kind of band that if we'd set a deadline, like, hey, we're going to the studio on June 22nd, we'll get it. We'll get it ready, yeah.
Will it once again be released on Housecore Record, fill up on someone's Housecore Records?
As long as they want Warbeast, of course. I mean, we haven't heard any signs of it being any other way, so I'm just Assuming. You know what I mean? Yeah, man, we're a Housecore band. We're a family, and they're our family. So, yes, I mean, I can't predict any more than that. Just as far as I know, everything's still the same way.
Cool. And obviously, should we all take for granted that you're keeping, some of these new songs are in the same vein as Destroy? Are you changing anything up? Are you how do you feel about these new songs?
Well, yeah, I mean, I thought we got heavier after the first album, even though we had some of that on there. And I think these 3 first ones are definitely in the same vein, but it ain't going to sound like it's come from the same album or anything.
Right.
But I think, Lyric is, a really talented bass player. He can add a different kind of versatility to that kind of playing because he's like a fan of Primus and some of this other stuff. And he's do it all, man. So, I mean, we're going to throw in some of that kind of stuff, where you'll see tonight he's just playing the songs the way he's supposed to, the old stuff. But he's very precise. But any time he can turn into slapping and funking and all that.
Cliff Burton.
Hey, say that name. That's
Claypool, right?
Oh, yeah.
Cliff Burton.
That's his hero, man.
Okay, so right now, tonight in San Antonio is the beginning of a string of shows that you will be playing in the next few weeks. So talk a little bit about what's coming up show-wise for the band.
Yes, of course, we're excited. I think this is our first time to play by ourselves in San Antonio. I mean, as far as not being on a tour with we've been through with Down and Guar and stuff. But so yeah, I love it here. I mean, I got family here, and then tomorrow night we go to Houston for the Dead Horse Festival they put on. Welcome to Hellfest. And so yeah, that's our brothers. So we're excited about that, of course. Then we're just making some stops, like we're hitting Midland. And then there's a big Fort Worth Metal Fest Memorial Weekend. I wish you guys could come for that.
I'd love to.
You seen that lineup, right?
I wanted to, yeah.
That's going to be intense. So we're playing with our buddies and Goat Whore and I Hate God, right before them. So how can you beat that, dude? I mean,
remember the last time I was in Fort Worth? Yeah. I was there for the Warbeast release party.
I know. That's why I was like, you came for that. You saw what kind of family we got down there in DFW. So especially at the rail clubs.
I love all the Warbeast fans in Dallas, Fort Worth, okay? But I have a confession.
All right.
I think I smelled like smoke for like 3 days after that show. My clothes and my what little hair I have, my body, I smell like a smoke. And the ironic thing is, because here in San Antonio they don't allow smoking in the clubs, and in your part of the woods they do. And not only that, but I think every metalhead in the Dallas-Fort Worth scene smokes. So yeah, I remember the next day, not only are my clothes smelling like smoke, but my lungs kind of hurt a little bit from all the secondhand smoke.
Well, you're right. And I mean, I got to admit, I think it's like the last city in the world that allows that. But you know what? Dallas doesn't allow it. So you just need to come to Dallas shows.
Shoot, okay.
Fort Worth does, but I quit smoking like 14 months ago, so I'm starting to act like you now. Like, hey, man, get the shit out of here,
I'm not complaining, guys. I love all you people in Dallas and Fort Worth or wherever. Okay, Bruce, thank you so much for sharing. And before we go, we have to talk about some of the other things that you're doing in support of music and our metal scene in Texas. And, I personally want to thank you on camera because you and I have kind of been having some discussions, and other key people in Texas, in the metal scene around Texas, talking about your leadership and work in kind of coordinating the metal committee for the Texas Musicians Museum. Okay, so talk a little bit about that, because I think it's very exciting, because now in an official music museum for our state, we will have a legitimate official metal section. So talk a little bit about that.
And I gotta say thank you, because you're on that committee too, man.
Thank you for having me.
Representing San Antonio right here.
Thank you.
And I got some good news, like on the way here, they just made me let me say this right, advisory board member.
All right.
For the Texas Musicians Museum. So yeah, it's really, what happened was I heard about it coming, and people were telling me about it, and it's in my hometown, and I was like, wow, I wonder how it ended up in my hometown. And I found out about it, and I just started doing research, and I didn't see any metal in it. And of course, I believe in metal, just like you, so I just took that step to track these people down and call up and say, hey, what about Texas metal? I mean, it's a very important music, and genre, and you would freak if you knew the kind of fan support we have. And the guy was very open to hearing what I had to say. And I was like flat out told him, I'm not calling to try to get my bands in there. I'm trying to call to get metal itself represented.
Yeah.
And he goes, I can tell that in just your, you know, I can hear the passion. And my biggest priorities right off the bat, I told him, was honoring Dimebag and Mike Scotia. Of course, you got to start with them. And then you know, even with the rivalry with Pantera back then, love them guys now. I mean, so I got to make sure Pantera is represented, especially this grand opening we got coming up. And so that's how it happened, man. And they started giving me this freedom to reach out to people like you and other representatives around, you know, what I call like heavy metal historians of Texas, and people like Jason McMaster out of Austin, and you know, Rodney Dunsmore down from, well, I guess he was from Corpus back then, right? And he's going to be there tonight. So
Sweet.
Yeah. And you know, Rick Perry and John Perez, several people.
Scott Fulweiler from Texas Metal Underground in Austin.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's exciting. It's going to be a grand opening coming up in July, and I'm hoping you guys can make it for that, man.
I'm going to try, man. I'm really going to try. And the cool thing is you're going to have, like, you know, we're going to see like very historic flyers, you know, also memorabilia, cool memorabilia.
Yeah, it's a museum, so you want to see some cool stuff in there. And the best part of it is, I like it because we're going to rotate out.
Yeah.
And that way we can represent and like show, you know, tributes to so many Texas metal bands. I hope to get to all of them eventually that deserve to be honored.
Sure.
So it ain't going to be like you've seen it one time and you'll come see the same pictures and the same pair of boots or guitars. I mean, we're going to we're going to try to switch this out and make it a fresh thing.
Sweet.
And they're going to let metal bands play at this thing. So that's really cool of them, man.
Cool.
So I'm just thank you, Thomas, for having us and for helping Texas metal be represented. I mean, it's a big step for us, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I think that, you know, with people like you, you know, and that's one of the things that I think people like us have always kind of tried to aspire to, you know, eliminate the stigma of metal and showcase it as a true art form, because it is a true art form. Exactly. Okay, and there's many notable people with their signature voice are playing, like Scotia and Dimebag and McMaster and James Rivera and you, the mighty Bruce Corbett, the mighty Bruce Corbett, sir. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time this evening. Any last words you want to share with the people out there around the world who will see this interview?
This man represents San Antonio metal, always has. Rob's MetalWorks, I mean, we go way back. Remember that first time you came back in the Rigor Mortis reunion? Yeah. I mean, I love you, bro. Thank you so much for always having my back, man. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Remember, everyone out there, go out there and buy the brand new Rigor Mortis CD. Just came out in October, Slaves to the Grave. Go out there online and look for it. Also, look for brand new Warbeast later on this summer. I want to dedicate this interview to Jack Corbett. Hope you get to watch it, my man. Remember, you saw Bruce only right here on Rob's MetalWorks.